Thank you for tuning in to the SciClones podcast. I am your real human host and not 5,000 ants in a trench coat, Annika.
And I am 5,000 ants in a trench coat, and I am Dalton.
Okay, today we're going to be covering the science fiction novel Children of Time by British author Adrian Tchaikovsky. Mr. Tchaikovsky was born in 1972 in Lincolnshire, Wood Hill Spa. He was really interested in biology and naturalism growing up, and he actually went to the University of Reading to study zoology and psychology, but he apparently didn't like it and went on to become a legal executive, and then really got into writing, and apparently he spent 15 years trying to get published before his first big novel was published. And this book, Children of Time, was published in 2015. And so we just read the first, it's a trilogy, we just read the first book.
Yeah, and for some reason we keep getting books that, I guess it's because of our background in like wildlife and stuff like that, that we keep picking authors who had that background, right? Or interested in that background, because Michael Crichton did a lot of like science animal based.
Doctor.
Yeah, like all of the books we've read so far are kind of like animal-based.
Was mammal or marine biologist.
Yeah, he was a marine biologist, and this guy has like, I guess, training in zoology, which I never actually know what that means. Is it just animal?
Yeah,
because zoos just means animal.
That was my undergrad.
I know, but we don't.
It's just animal study of animals.
Yeah, so we don't got that here. We either do it for managing animals so we can shoot more of them, or that's about it.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Here meaning Iowa State.
Yeah.
Not to dox ourselves, but...
Well, you just did, so
we're one of the 50 people in Iowa. This book was really good. I thought it was kind of slow to get through, personally, but it was really unique. It's basically, what if spiders were people and also in space? Kind of. I guess the spiders are in space for a little bit. Yeah,
they get there. Spoilers. Also, spoilers for this book.
Yeah, this whole podcast is pretty much just spoilers.
Yeah. But no, I thought the book was good as well. It was, like you said, a little slow, and it's definitely, I don't know how you describe it, but it's like, it definitely felt more, like, I think books sometimes feel like movies. This definitely felt like a TV show.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot of sections where, like, almost a full story happens, and then there's, like, a pause. In this book, it was because there was like a time jump that happened. So like it was almost like little sections of each. And there was definitely some that were better than others. And I feel like the ones when you get towards the middle of the book and the end of the book were better than the ones at the beginning.
Yeah. The book starts off with this scientist woman on a ship, and she's doing an experiment where mankind is sort of in turmoil and there's potential for civil war to start up. So she's doing this experiment where they've gone out and started to terraform a bunch of planets, and they're basically going to seed these planets with different forms of Earth life, and then release a nanovirus that, it's kind of like the forced evolutionary virus, I guess, in Fallout. It's just supposed to speed up their evolution, and her plan on this particular planet is to release a bunch of monkeys down there, and then release this nanovirus, and put herself, or not herself, a volunteer.
Yeah.
To sleep in orbit around the planet. And the plan is the monkeys take a few centuries to evolve to where they are able to contact the satellite with the person in it. And then the person will sort of lead them to become like a new race of uplifted people. Basically. However, things go wrong. Her volunteer turns out to be working for this other faction in the Civil War. Long story short, the whole ship blows up, the virus gets released on the planet, the monkeys burn up in orbit, and the scientist, Dr. Kern, ends up in hypersleep on the satellite going around the planet.
Yeah, and it has some sort of AI thing with her as well that's kind of keeping her company. And I guess the whole setup is, like Earth has gone the crap, there's civil war, or on the brink of civil war. And it turns out that one of these guys is, I don't know if he's the rebels, I guess, and he just kind of blows up everything. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because, like, they're not going to be humans, the monkeys.
Yeah.
Because they're going to develop their own culture and stuff. I don't understand why they just release humans down there. I guess they needed time for the planet to get suitable for human habitation, so they put monkeys in there to, like, almost like the basal instinct of, like, a untamed planet.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's because they still thought they had time.
Yeah.
And the timeline kind of gets bumped around because of the explosion and the idea that there's probably now a civil war going on. Because I can't remember how long they've been there, but it took them a couple 100 years for them to get to this planet to do the terraforming.
Mm-hmm.
So all the bad things, the civil war on Earth, has probably already happened and come to pass. And now this like traitor that's on their ship is making sure that humanity, I guess, doesn't continue forward.
Because the rebellious faction is like anti-technology, pretty much. And so I think the monkeys thing is that Kern is very disillusioned with humanity, and she's like, a new race of people that I can lead will be, better
than that. And a lot of the tech haters don't like the idea of using these monkeys instead.
Because they're like, oh, only humanity. So Kern uploads herself kind of into the AI that you were talking about on the pod that's orbiting the planet and the AI is like, I will wake you up if anything changes. She's like, cool. And there's some time passes, she doesn't know, she wakes up because there are no more radio signals coming from Earth. So we can assume something catastrophic happened on Earth and people are no longer sending out radio signals. So on the planet, basically, they didn't want to put a bunch of competitors for the monkeys, so there are no large animals on the planet.
Or no large mammals.
No large mammal. Well, there's not. They don't really talk about anything.
Oh, that's
else.
fair. I was thinking like if they had crocs or anything, but no, they don't
never
talk about
it.
that.
But,
yeah.
So the nanovirus, obviously there's no monkeys, and it decides to go into these jumping spiders. The actual species is Portia labiata, which is a real jumping spider, and they're already well known for their problem-solving abilities, and they're sort of like able to visualize 3D space because they hunt other spiders, so they're good at ambushing other spiders in their web. So anyways, they're really cool, smart little spiders, and the nanovirus gets into them and starts evolving them. And so over the course of the book, in these little segments, we follow these spiders basically as they grow a civilization.
Yeah. And it's also the other species on the planet also kind of evolve at the same time. It doesn't specifically target these jumping spiders. Like they call them the spitters. Do you remember what kind of other spiders those were? I can't remember off the top of the head.
Mm-mm.
There is some sort of spitting spiders that they also had. They talk later on about ants, which we'll get into. And then, was it a mantis shrimp? Is that what the...
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a point where the spiders kind of have a relationship with these mantis shrimp in the oceans, and they're pretty chill with each other. But why all of this stuff is evolving... Did you find the name of the spider? Cytodes. I'm not really sure what that is, but if we look it up...
So it's just a spider that can spit webbing out, and their specialization... So the Portia jumping spider is specialized on catching web-building spiders, and the Cytodes spider is specialized in catching jumping spiders.
Okay.
So, like, they're natural
like
predators.
enemies, yeah. So, while all this is happening, like, the first evolutionary steps where they're pretty much on their own still, but they're kind of... The virus is somehow passing on genetically, like, their evolved traits, too. And so, like, each generation is getting smarter and smarter, and the knowledge from the previous generations are just getting... It sounds like it's getting passed on through reproduction.
Yeah. Not
by, like, teaching, but just, like, straight up, like, if your parent knew it, you know it, too. And it just kind of compounds over the many generations. Mm-hmm. And you think about spiders, like, they have way more generations than humans do just because their lifespans is shorter and stuff. I don't think they talk about how long they live.
They don't. The time is really, like, we get big clues as to be like, oh, this has been, like, thousands of years later or, like, decades later, but we never really know for sure the whole timeline. Right,
because we don't know... I can't remember off the top of my head how long Ivana Kern's people had been gone from Earth. And then another group... leaves Earth afterwards as well. And from their point of view, what happened was that Earth completely collapsed, and I think it was from like nuclear fallout. They kind of had a nuclear winter. The ice caps like not receded. What's the opposite of ascended? Encroached. And humanity kind of went back to almost like cavemen. And then after that event, they were kind of re-emerging. And, you know, they lost a lot of their technology that they had before. They didn't know how to do a bunch of things, but they're able to eventually get technology, get on a ship called the Gilgamesh, and kind of go towards the stars to try and find somewhere else to live.
So, and this is all happening like while Kern is in orbit, unconscious, around the planet.
Right, yeah. And I guess we don't really know, because we don't, I think they say it's like a few thousand years that this happened, because they went back to like hunter-gatherer societies.
Yeah, and the ice cap started melting and released all these like diseases,
right,
nuclear stuff. So they sent out these ark ships. One was the Gilgamesh, as like a sort of a last ditch attempt to like help humanity survive, I guess, by finding other worlds.
Yeah, and this is kind of like their last ditch effort, because they don't have the technology to make more ships or to make Earth any better. But they do have some people who, I guess, are historians. So we have Holston, who's kind of the historian, also joked as being like the oldest man ever. I guess, because he's one of the oldest ones when he's on the ship. And through the time, like, they have this cryo sleep where they're able to sleep for long periods of time, so they can travel long distances, but it's still, thousands of years that they travel. So he's just getting older and older. And he's able to speak a bunch of the older languages and things like that. And he's kind of just like the overall knowledge about the old civilization, even though it's kind of fragmented.
And so we sort of get these colliding plot lines where the Ark ship comes across this planet, or Kern's world, and it's all lush and green, and they're like, hell yeah, we're gonna settle here. But Kern, who's been in cryo sleep / AI verse for thousands of years, she's kind of crazy, and she hears them approaching, and she's like, no, this is my experiment, I will shoot you down, you cannot settle here. And meanwhile, on the planet, which Kern still thinks the monkeys are evolving down there, these spiders are creating their own society, and they have found, it's kind of like complicated. Like, they found a crystal that ants have made that is receiving transmissions from Kern's satellite, and they sort of are worshipping it, and they call the satellite the messenger. They don't know what it means, but they basically, a whole religion kind of starts up about these messages coming down from Kern.
Right. And kind of at the same time, or we don't really actually know what the timeline is, because they'll jump between the humans and the spiders, and we assume that they're happening parallel, but it might be completely different. But yeah, Kern kind of kicks them out of their of Kern's world. They go into a different, I don't know if they say planet, like area, a different area, to search for one of these other terraformed planets. And they try to set up a moon base, if you will. Does not go great. No. And which eventually happens, we see what happens later on. But I can't remember, do they end up on the planet before the crystal they find, or after the crystal they find? They
end up on the planet after. So a few people manage to get past Kern's satellite from the Gilgamesh and land on the planet.
And they were the people who were assigned to this moon colony. So pretty much this moon colony was gonna fail, but the commander of the Gilgamesh, called Commander Guyen. It's a guy-in, but it's Guyen. Anyways, he set these people on this planet, like, with no resources, and pretty much just for generations and generations, they're just gonna suffer on this moon colony.
Base. Yeah.
While the Gilgamesh is going to other systems to see if there's anything available. Because they wanted a foothold there in case they had to come back and be like, nothing else is there, we're gonna have to go to Kern's world. And they develop a mutiny, and they're able to take over some of the smaller ships attached to the Gilgamesh, and actually land on Kern's world.
Yeah. So they get out. There's a few of them, Holston included, and the security guy, Karst. Right? Is Karst down there?
Yeah, and Holston is a captive. So Holston, always a thing that happens with him is that he's in cryosleep. He gets woken up, and it's in the middle of just horrible things happening.
Yeah, like, and he has no idea.
What's going on, which is funny because like they rely on him so much. Like, we kind of skipped it, but like when they first interact with Kern, she's speaking in like an ancient language. It's like us trying to understand like ancient Egyptian
or Babylonian or something.
Compared to them, because it's been thousands of years of development, and he's the only one that can translate. But everyone they always treat him like shit.
They do. But they get on the planet. I don't think Karst is on there because it doesn't. But anyways, Holston and some of these mutineers, and they immediately get killed by ants because the ants on the planet are like, they say they're like a few inches long.
Yeah,
like they're big, and they swarm over them and like rip them up, and it's pretty gory.
Yeah, and they're definitely like a hive mind. Like the spiders are having issues with the ants on the planet as well. There's a couple different spider colonies on the planet, and one of them, Seven Trees, gets kind of in its territory encroached on by these spiders. And the spider characters, which we haven't talked about, we'll talk about later, kind of have to deal with it, and that's where they find that crystal originally.
Yeah.
But at this point, the spiders are like a foot long, and one of the, I think maybe Holston or all of them see the spiders down there.
Yeah.
And this is like their first inkling that they realize, oh, there's no monkeys down here. I don't know if they know about the virus yet.
No.
But they know that there is these giant spiders down there.
Spiders, big ants.
There's ants killing people. And one of the humans actually gets left behind on the planet. Kearns doesn't want anyone there, but she allows Gilgamesh's crew to go get these survivors. I think they kill all the mutineers except for one who escapes into the forest. And then Holston and Lane, which is a chief engineer officer and kind of Holston's love interest.
Yeah.
It's a little weird because I feel like she's supposed to be way younger than him, but
eventually she gets older than him
because of cryo sleep and stuff. But they end up, finally seeing the spiders and seeing their evolution, which it's weird because it's almost like the humanity is like evolving but backwards.
Yeah.
While the spiders are like evolving forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like supposed to be like a clash between like humanity on the decline and the spiders on the ascension.
Yeah, I mean it kind of is because we see. Well, first of all, they don't know that the spiders are like intelligent or sentient. They just go back up to the Gilgamesh and they're like, no, we can't go down there. There's huge ass spiders, giant ants. No. As the story goes on, things in the Gilgamesh like decline, and there's people basically like live and die and reproduce there, so they're like generations of people that kind of regress a little bit to living like in shacks that they scavenge stuff from the ship. And then the spiders, which it's kind of cool how they do the spiders, like they have names, like Portia is the main spider, and Bianca, and then Fabian, but they're not the same spider, like they're descendants.
Yeah, it's just they keep the same name through generations. So the first spider that we interact with is Portia, and she is like the one that we see like right when the virus hits her, and we kind of follow her throughout. Like there's what's the big spider city?
Oh, the Great Nest.
So she's from Great Nest. She ends up going to these other communities like Seven Trees, where she meets Fabian, like the first Fabian. Bianca's with her because they're kind of like, I guess, what do they call them? Like nest mates or something? Because like their culture is weird, where it's like all the females are like buddies and hang out, and then like the males are like, they're like, yeah, we just eat them sometimes.
Yeah, because the spiders, like, they'll just cannibalize the males. Yeah,
and like as they evolve, it's like, yeah, the males live at the bottom of the trees and slums and stuff, and they die all the time. But that's just our culture.
I think it was funny one time where like they're like in the spider city and they're pretty evolved, and they're like, sometimes roving packs of females will go and kill a male, but girls will be girls.
Exactly.
I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I guess one of the main characters that we'll talk about probably a little bit later is Fabian, who is, I guess, the only male character we ever get any interaction with, and he was originally one of the males in Seven Trees, and it's kind of interacts with like the whole ant debacle as they're encroaching on these other habitat. And it seems like on the planet it's, the ants are kind of a society, but it's more of a hive mind. The spiders are an actual society with like culture and religion a little bit, where they worship Kern's orbiting platform because they can see it in the sky. And then the mantis shrimp just hanging out in the ocean.
Apparently also their own society.
Yeah, and they seem cool with the spiders because the spiders are like, yeah, we can't go in the water and you guys can't come on land, so...
They trade.
Yeah, like, why would we have anything against you guys? Like, we have nothing in common that, like, we'll need to fight over.
And it's cool with the ants because they end up... So, as you said earlier, it's basically like a bunch of little sort of vignettes through time. And one of the earlier ones is that this ant super colony is encroaching on the spiders. And the ants... So the ants are not, like, known to be intelligent or sentient. They're just, like you said, a hive mind. But
yeah, like maybe like some sort of queen that is sentient that's kind of controlling things, maybe?
But they're ants.
Yeah.
So they don't really become people, but they've sort of evolved like metal smithing and flame throwing.
Yeah, which like the spiders, like, I don't know if they just don't have access to the ore, I can't remember, or they like just don't have the appendages to do that kind of stuff.
I thought it was a little jarring because they set up this whole like war with the ant super colony. They're pushing forward and they're like burning everything. And then some stuff happens, and then basically the author's like, and yeah, the spiders won the war with the ants at the end.
Well, there's kind of a reason why. Because of Fabian's invention, right?
Yeah, true.
So Fabian becomes, I guess, a well-respected male, kind of, in his... I guess it isn't... What, he used, like, pheromones or something to control the ants?
Yeah, because there are these possid beetles, which are a real beetle, that live among ant colonies and produce pheromones so the ants ignore them.
Right.
And so he took advantage of that.
And makes him his own personal army. Which is kind of like the first spider civil war. I don't know if you want to get into that yet. But
yeah, we can.
I think we're kind of jumping over. But that's why it's hard with this, because it's like... There's, like, stories going together at the same time. So if you jump between the spiders and the humans... It's hard. Like, it's hard, but you want to tell the whole spider storyline, but it's like, well, actually, the humans did stuff at the same time this was happening.
Yeah. Eventually, Gilgamesh turns around because they had started this moon colony and fucked off to go find another planet. They did not find any other planet, so they came back to Kern's world. The moon colony is dead. And meanwhile, the spiders have evolved a way to communicate with Kern. They still don't have a good understanding of each other because Kern is kind of insane and she still thinks they're monkeys, and the spiders obviously don't know she's a human, and they've evolved very differently than any sort of primate. So she warns them that Gilgamesh is coming back, and by this time the spiders have evolved basically an orbiting city. Yeah,
it's kind of weird because they go into space for a little bit and then they end up like, it's almost like, but it's like spider technology of like webs and stuff in space as like little satellites.
Yeah.
And like the weirdest part too is that they don't speak a language. They use these like body movements to talk. So it's like really hard for Kearns to talk with them, especially since she's kind of half AI. She's just gone insane. So even if she was talking, like when she talks to the Gilgamesh, it's still, they don't understand her either, and they're both humans.
Yeah, because she's just lost it. Because she's been in that pod for like thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, and probably thousands and thousands of years before the Gilgamesh even shows up. Yeah. And then there's thousands of years as the Gilgamesh fucks off and comes back.
Yeah, and she thought she was just going to have to be in there for a few centuries. So
yeah, just waiting for someone from Earth to come back, but there was no one on Earth to come get her.
So Gilgamesh and the spiders do eventually go head to head. And that's a really cool action-packed chapter where the spiders are using spider technology to infiltrate the ship. The ship is not, it's an arc ship, so it doesn't really have many weapons. And they're trying to fight the spiders, and they still don't realize that the spiders are actually sentient.
Mm-hmm.
Until it all comes to a climax when the spiders have basically, by using the ants, they've domesticated the ants to like do all these complex things for them. They've been able to basically create the nanovirus, and they infect the humans on the ship when they're all fighting, because the nanovirus makes you like recognize each other. Like if you're both infected, you recognize each other as like kin, kind of.
Yeah, like recognize that this has sentience.
Yeah.
Like the spiders, like the Portia spiders, understand that the spitting spiders are conscious and stuff. They might be less developed than them, but they're like have an intelligence.
Yeah.
And before, the humans couldn't see that until they got infected by the neurovirus.
Yeah.
But you're missing like the worst, like the best part about this book.
Oh, sorry.
Is that the whole time you just keep hearing people getting picked off by the spiders.
Yeah.
And like getting bit by the spiders, and you're just thinking they're dying.
Yeah.
Because they set up the whole ending of the book that, you know, Kern's like, they're coming, you gotta prepare. And like the name of the chapters are even like war and death or something. It's not like that.
Well, it's like
but,
pinnacle or cataclysm or
it's something like that. So it's like the whole time we're thinking like all these human characters, which honestly I didn't really care about. I didn't like any of the human characters really.
Holston.
Holston's fine. Lane was
I liked it. She was good.
Gillian ends up creating a cult.
Yeah,
so he wasn't
trying
as
to
great.
upload himself and going crazy.
But yeah, the whole time we think everyone's dying, and then it's like
they released the nanovirus through, I think through like the
air ducts as well.
And so they're like gassing all these children and families,
like,
and you're like, oh my god.
This isn't a reference that you won't get, but there's only a few like medias where you kind of like that I've seen that like you feel it in your gut, like oh fuck. One of them was this, because when they're all dying, it's like, they're all fucking dying.
Yeah.
And the other ones, have you ever seen Attack on Titan?
No.
Okay.
I'm not.
I've watched, like, the first episode of it, but it's, like, these giant... You've seen, like...
I know what it is, yeah.
But it's, like, the giant, like, people-looking things are just, like, walking through, just eating people.
Oh,
and it's just, like... But it's just, like, that feeling of, like, total helplessness.
Yeah.
And that's, like, watching the spiders just, like, systematically pick apart the last of humanity was, like...
Yeah.
It was just like crazy how like humanity was like, we're gonna kill all the spiders, and I mean they shot and killed some of the spiders.
They did, yeah.
And the whole time the spiders are trying to be agreeable and help humanity.
Yeah.
So like this is where it's like humanity's all about destruction and killing, and the spiders are like, we must uplift and help.
Yeah, even as they're being killed. So it's really cool because this one guy, Karst, security guy, a spider gets on him and he screams and his like camera feed goes dark.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, and then you think as the reader, you're like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
Like, all these people.
And they're all coming into the like the main chamber with Holston and stuff. And like,
then Karst shows back up and he's like, hey, they're cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
And that's it.
These are cool dudes.
And they all come in and then they have like this understanding with each other.
Yeah. And then...
Oh, and Kern dies. Well, kind of.
Well, Kern turns into like an AI.
They shoot down her pod that has her body.
Yeah.
But the spiders have basically downloaded her into an ant colony that's like a computer.
It's like she's like an AI, like sentient AI thing. Kind of just kind of similar to like the AI that was in the ship she was already with. And
so
kind
it's
of
not
what
really her.
Yeah, and kind of what Gillian was trying to do in the Gilgamesh.
Yeah. In the very end, we have a ship that's like blasting off into orbit, and it has human passengers and spider passengers, and they're going to check out another signal that they found from somewhere else.
Yeah, I thought they were going to Earth.
I don't think they're going to Earth.
Oh, I thought they were like saying they were going to Earth.
Got a signal from somewhere else, and they're going to check it out.
Well, and then we kind of skipped over the human like characters a little bit, which is
they
fine.
Weren't as cool as the spiders.
Gillian was kind of like just... I don't know, he ruled with iron fist, and it was like he more cared about his legacy than anything. And Lane she was probably like the other main character that we followed, and she was like the engineer. But there's a really weird part. So like her and Holston kind of have a relationship. It's a little weird. She ends up like during a lot of time that Holston is in cryo sleep, she's out and about. So she has a bunch of... So she's way older when he finally sees her. There's still more and more generations of the Gilgamesh people that they just reproduce on the ship now. And she apparently, like, froze her eggs and, like, combined them with his sperm.
No.
Yes?
No, they had sex, and she got pregnant, and she took the embryo out and froze it.
When did they have sex?
They had sex pretty early on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she like stole his sperm while he was sleeping.
No.
That's why I thought it was weird.
No, because they when she's like running the ship basically while he's in cryosleep, and one policy she had was like, if you get pregnant, you have to put the embryo on ice so you don't get overcrowded. Oh. And she did that with her embryo, that he got her pregnant.
Gotcha. Because at the end, I can't remember what the name is of the girl, but it is Holston and Lane's daughter.
Yeah.
And she's kind of hanging out on the planet, and I guess it's kind of setting up her, because this is a trilogy, it's kind of setting up her to be the character, or the main character in the next one.
Of the next one. Helena Holston Lane.
Okay, so yeah, it's a little Harry Potter
A little
of them,
bit.
where they're like, this is Dumbledore, Snape, Potter, or whatever the fucking kid's name. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, he names it after like every character.
Every
in the
character
book.
that mattered in the book. Yeah.
So it does end on a really hopeful note. Honestly, I thought it was really good. Like the juxtaposition between humanity sort of struggling to survive, because eventually they're like, yeah, the people on the Gilgamesh are probably the only humans left anywhere.
Yeah, and at this point, they've never seen Earth.
Yeah.
Like, these are all, like,
Except for
shipborne. A lot of... Because there's a lot of the people that stayed in cryosleep, but a lot of them, the cryosleep chamber started to fail, so a lot of them died. But the majority of the people are people who were born on the ship who have never... They only know humanity as on the Gilgamesh.
And there's whole generations who their only purpose was to, like, keep the ship running.
Right.
Like, generations of just engineers.
Yeah.
That Lane kind of taught to take care of the ship.
Yeah.
Even though they knew they'd never get to, like, see any planets.
And at the same time, the spiders are, like, evolving their culture. Like, it goes from, you know, they killing males, and then Fabian as kind of the inventor and the only male the females see that has value, kind of gets males to have some of their respect, even though he just gets murdered still.
Oh, he does. He kind of becomes a martyr.
Well, no, he's like, he did it. He got rights for males. And then apparently just, like, one of the females who doesn't like that just killed him in his workshop, like, 2 years later.
But then there's another Fabian.
Yeah, I don't remember him as much.
Men's rights subplot with the spiders, that... a little funny.
Well, yeah, I don't think it was supposed to be, like, the author's, like, for men's rights.
No.
But it was just, like, I think it was just, like, a weird thing that this culture has to go through, just because in regular spiders, I guess, or jumping spiders, the males they're just kind of there to reproduce, and that's kind of the end of their, I don't know, use, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I guess in jumping spiders, the females get bigger.
Yeah.
So I guess the males are less important, I guess. They're just needed for their genetic material, which seems like that's what was kind of happening in the book, too. Because they were even, like, talking about how, like, the females had to, like, overcome, like, the urge to kill them after they reproduce.
After they would reproduce, yeah.
Because even Portia had, like, moments like that.
Yeah.
I think Portia and the Fabian, like, had babies together, and, like, she was like, oh, don't eat them.
Yeah, and one Fabian sacrifices himself for her when they first go to space. They go up in a satellite, and she has to get out into, like, the upper atmosphere to fix something. And she almost dies when she comes back in. And so he does his little, like, mating dance. And she's so out of it that she kills and eats him. And that's how she's able to survive. Yeah,
just because based off his food of his body. Like, Jesus.
Yay, women! But yeah, no, it's definitely not like men are so It's like, it's in that society.
It's just like the quirk of that society, based
like
off of their, like, natural...
the lower class.
Yeah.
And so they sort of show that they do have worth.
Yeah, by the end of it. And I guess, I don't know, I don't know what the time jump is by the end of, like... Because there's... I don't know if I think Holston comes to the planet, but I don't think we have much of an interaction where Holston interacts with the spiders before it kind of jumps to, you know, his daughter hanging out on the planet. So we don't know the time jump, because evidently they could have just held the embryo in cryosleep forever.
Yeah.
So maybe they waited to, you know, have the child until it's like, I don't know, the humanity has gotten, I guess, a hold on the planet a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know, like, how humans came into society. Do they have their own colonies and they're kind of just living side by side, like different places, or are they living in the same place? Because, like, the spider town is not going to be good for them. They live up in the trees.
Yeah, they're, like, walking upside down and stuff.
Yeah, on, like, webs and stuff. So it's, like, not good for them. And because they were talking about, like, how it's weird that they had walls on the Gilgamesh.
Yeah, when the spiders go into the Gilgamesh, they're like, what? It's just walls and angles?
Because they're, like, so used to, like, everything being able to be, like, rearranged with the webs. Like, oh, you need this room bigger? Tear down the wall, put it back up, and, like, nothing. And it's just, like, humanity is so rigid and like
Yeah.
concrete that you can't change as easily, but the spiders can. Which maybe that's because of the virus.
That's
Which
true.
maybe humanity is gonna be way different now with the virus.
And living with the spider
Like
society.
learning from them and stuff. I wanted to know more about the mantis shrimp, honestly.
Me too.
Like, hopefully book 2 is mantis shrimp.
They didn't really go into them. They were just like, yeah, and the spiders trade with these mantis shrimp colonies that live offshore, and that was that.
Yeah.
So we don't know anything about what's going on with the mantis shrimp.
But overall, I liked the book. If you had to rank it, this is our 3rd book we've done. So we'll just rank it on books. We've done Micro by I'm blanking, Jurassic Park guy. Michael Crichton and other guy.
Oh no.
Other guy who helped write it because Michael Crichton passed away.
Did a good job. Richard Preston.
And then
Starfish by Peter Watts.
Yeah, so where would you rank it in those 3? Because I feel like you might rank Starfish first because Starfish is your favorite book of all time.
I'd do Starfish first, this one second, but not far behind.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, Michael Crichton, but Micro last.
Yeah, I'd probably switch this one the first, and then Starfish, and then Micro.
Yeah.
Micro just had a whole, like, the plot was really good, but Michael Crichton, or maybe it was the Preston guy, he has a hard time writing characters.
Yeah, they're very one-dimensional.
Like, he wants to write the science portion of the books, but he doesn't want to write the character portions of the books. Which I feel like the characters in this book were very fleshed out. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of glossing over it, but there's a lot of, what do you want to call it? Like, philosophical moments and philosophical waxing about, like, things happening in the book.
Yeah.
That we kind of glossed over just because, well, I glossed over because I'm stupid. But
you're not stupid. You're so smart.
Oh,
You're
thank
really
you.
smart.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you gonna eat me now? You learn from the book?
Maybe. Women's rights.
Yeah, women's rights to eat men.
Women's rights to eat men. I think you
Put
should
that
go
on a shirt.
I would wear that.
I know.
But yeah, there's a lot of philosophical talk, and I found the spider characters to be more interesting, but the human characters were really, like, I cared about Holston.
Yeah, I mostly cared about Holston. It just seems like humanity had devolved to such a point that, like, everything they did was like, oh, come on, guys. Yeah. What are we doing?
They were really
They're just desperate.
Like 3 or 4 main human characters, though. Holston, Lane, Guyon, and Karst.
Yep. And then we kind of learned about some of the rebels later on.
The scientist lady, not Kern, the other one on the ship, who was, she kind of sucked. She was really scared of spiders.
Oh, yeah.
So when the spiders...
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, because there was a point where Holston was like, hey guys, maybe these spiders are like, maybe they're smart, because I think they're sending out, like, I think they're talking pretty much.
Yeah, they're like sending out signals.
And the ship scientist, who, she was apparently so scared of spiders that she was like, no, there's no way.
No, kill the spiders.
No, kill
it. I don't want to kill the spiders.
And then, yeah.
And hopefully she's not afraid of spiders.
Did she die?
I don't think so.
Did they kill her?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think she just got infected by the virus.
Okay, because they don't talk about her again.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because they don't really know much. The spiders, like, we had that one person who ran into the woods, and they just, like, apparently put her in a cage and just watched her die.
Yeah, well, because they didn't think that she was sentient, because the only other mammal on the planet were mice.
Like mice. So they just, like, put her in a cage and she starved to death. Yeah. And she was, like, one of the rebels from the moon base at first. Is that what it was?
I think it was, because they said she was eating stuff, and then maybe she starved, because she probably can't live on spider food. Because
I know that at one point, either Bianca or Portia was like, we should have learned more about them about them at that point, so we could do more about what to do when the Gilgamesh shows up again. So
because she died, and then the spider scientist just dissected her and was like, yeah, she's basically a mouse.
Yeah, it's a mouse.
Just a big weird mouse.
It's a big weird mouse.
So I really liked it. I was sad when it ended. It was like, it was bittersweet.
Yeah, good. I guess there's 2 more books.
Yeah?
I accidentally read the synopsis of the second one.
Oh, did you?
Well, because I originally thought that was the first one, so I read the back of the book, and I was like, oh, interesting. And so I knew at the very beginning of this book that the spiders and the humans become friends, because
Okay.
that was in like the first 2 lines on the back of the second book, was that humanity and its newfound spider allies go into the ether. And I was like, okay. And then I read this one. I was like, oh.
Oops.
Well, because then I was like, I didn't know if it was something to do with like the spiders just like enslaved them and then became pals afterwards. But apparently it was because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Have we talked about what book we want to do next?
I don't think so. I think we're up for like a... Do you want to do... Well, the next book, do you want to do the Warhammer book?
Yeah, so the next book we'll do, I don't know if we will do a half episode. We didn't do it between the last 2.
That's true. We haven't been keeping a very consistent schedule.
Yeah, we will see about that. Yeah, I listened to the book.
You listened to the book, but you also listened to the book on 2 times speed.
Yeah, read the book at 2 times speed.
I work.
Fair. You sit in the car most of the time at work.
Okay, well.
Not moving, so you could read it then, technically.
Walk around.
Walk around and read a book. Anyways, I think the next book we'll do, if that's the case, which you'll either have to listen to audio or buy it somewhere. I don't know where you'd be able to buy it.
I'll figure it out.
Is The Infinite and the Divine. By Mr. Warhammer.
Ah.
Okay, The Infinite and Divine, not by Mr. Warhammer, but by Robert Rath.
That also sounds made up.
It does. They're all British names and British authors as well, just because that's where Games Workshop is based.
Oh, yes.
That's where James Workshop lives.
Mr.
Yeah.
James.
James Workshop of Games Workshop. So yeah, this is a Warhammer book. You don't really need to know anything about Warhammer to like this book. It will help with some of the, there's some parts where they don't say what the thing that they're fighting is, but if you know Warhammer, you know what it is, and it is a little bit that's that thing, but it doesn't really matter.
Okay, so it is okay. Someone with minimal to no Warhammer.
I think so, because they do a pretty good job of explaining what this is, and this book, just a little bit of background is, so it's a Necron book. And just a little bit of background on them. So it's Necron were humans. They got tricked by this weird god. Or they weren't humans. They were their own race.
Okay.
They got tricked by this god thing. And they became robots. AI robots. So they can live forever. So that's kind of the basis of it. And it's these 2 Necrons chasing down a MacGuffin.
What is a MacGuffin?
MacGuffin is just a story plot device.
Oh, okay.
So the ring from the Lord of the Rings that's the MacGuffin.
Gotcha.
That's what they're after. Or what moves the plot forward is the thing.
Okay.
So I guess in this book it would have been the planet, Kern's World.
Oh, that's true.
Kern's World! Party on! Excellent!
I feel like we need a jingle. It's come to Kern's World, where the spiders are big and the ants are...
You make it sound like it's a strip club or something. Oh. Come to Kern's World, the spiders are large.
Are so big.
The girth of these spiders.
Some big lady spiders, well, we've got them.
Exactly.
It's a great book. I really liked the speculative biology of this book. He didn't just make the spiders... I know this is sort of we sort of finished talking about the book, but he didn't make the spiders evolve like people.
Yeah, they're their
humans.
own culture.
They're their definitely own unique spider culture.
Yeah.
Spiders are cool.
Spiders are cool.